I'm going to show you how I made a good-looking burnished aluminum panel just like this for your scale model airplane. First thing you need to do is to make a cardboard cutout, make a pattern, and use some stiff poster board or something like that. The material to use for your burnished coil for aluminum, burnished aluminum finish on a RC airplane is this aluminum coil right here. It's 6,000 thick. It's used for fabricating roof edges and trims, and it's available from your local hardware store. It's really lightweight. You can cut this out with a simple pair of scissors. It's so thin, just like that. Now that I've got my pattern cut out, the first thing I did was I marked the front bottom so that I make sure when I burnish it that I don't accidentally get all done and find I burnished the wrong side. This is the side that I'm going to work with. Now the rolling mill that made this 6,000 thick, or shall I say thin, aluminum, the rolling process imparts a work-hardened surface to this thing, and that's going to cause the burnishing process to take a lot longer. So to cut down the time on the burnishing, I'm going to take this sander and I'm going to cut through that work-hardened skin to speed things up. Okay, I'm all done sanding. That took about 5 minutes. You can see the difference in the shiny aluminum that I started with versus the one that's had the hard skin coating cut through with the sander. And the next thing I'm going to do is mark my grid for the circles. And I'm going to mark the grids on 1/2-inch centers because the burnishing tool is 5/8 in diameter, so that's a little bit bigger. We want some of the circles to overlap each other, so I've chosen a grid that's a little bit smaller, about 1/8 of an inch smaller than the burnishing tool itself. Here's how you mark the grids. First thing you do is you put dots down, and you put 3 of them so you can make a straight line. You just mark like so, and go right on down the line. You Sharpie, that's what they're called. You go ahead and make all these lines, and once I get done with these horizontal ones, I'm going to make dots going the other way and make lines going 90 degrees to that. Okay, the grid pattern is drawn and we're ready to burnish. Now a word about the burnishing tool. I tried a lot of different tools, and at great expense, it took me a long time to figure out just exactly what the right tool was to use. I tried making my own tool, and I glued wet dry paper on here, and that worked reasonably well, but it wore out too soon, and I spent a lot of time re-gluing pads on here, so that didn't work. I tried Dremel grinding wheels. I tried abrasive powder on here, dry and wet. That didn't work very well. I tried wire brushes. That didn't work very well either. I even put this hose clamp on here to try to tighten up the pattern, but some of these wires are longer than others, and it ended up digging deep circular grooves in here and didn't have that right shine pattern I was looking for. I tried 3M Scotch-Brite tools. This abrasive stuff. It's kind of like the stuff you use to wash pots and pans with, but it has a matrix of abrasive in here, and that didn't work very well either. It loads up. I tried it with oil. I tried it dry. I tried it wet. Doesn't work very good. So throw all that stuff out. Here's one of the Scotch-Brite pads. That didn't work. I tried sanding discs with this little interchangeable 3M system, and again, it costs you a fortune just buying all the sandpaper. You do about 3 burnishes in a row, and the tool's already worn out. That didn't work. So what really did work, this is a great thing, is this Kratex rubberized abrasive stick. It's available as an industrial supply. They use it for deburring and polishing and all kinds of things. This Kratex, that's C-R-A-T-E-X, is model number 0106C. The C stands for coarse, and it's 5/8 diameter. Remember, I have a 1/2-inch pattern, and a 5/8 inch diameter circle is going to give us the right amount of overlap to make it work. Okay, on to burnishing. For the burnishing, I'm going to use this milling machine with a block of wood chucked up in the vise, and as you can see, the Kratex stick is in the chuck. It's in a 5/8 collet. I do think you could use a drill press for this operation too. It would work just fine. For the first row that I burnish, I'm going to line up the stick even with 2 edges of each grid, but kind of in the center, not on the line, and work my way across like that. For the next line, I'm going to go on the line, but even with this bottom edge right here, and then work over to the next one and the next one. And then for the subsequent lines, I just alternate back and forth, first going inside the square for a row, and then on the line, like so. Here's the second row. On the line. You can just eyeball it in. The machine isn't putting much torque on the part, so you don't have to worry about the work twisting in your hands. It's very easy, very light. Every once in a while, you got to kind of take a screwdriver and sort of clean up this ragged edge that appears after a while. You'll only have to do that about 6 or 7 times during the whole process. I've only been at it for just a few minutes here, but I'm already about a quarter of the way done. You don't want to press too hard on this because it is possible to burn the aluminum, creating dark marks. I'm really pressing very lightly. After you're done with a row here, it's a good idea to just kind of brush that off so you continue to work with a nice flat surface. These particles build up under here. Now, really the hardest part about this is after you get near the end of a row, when the abrasive tool has to go off the edge, you really got to hold this thing a little bit steady here and use light pressure and slowly burnish it. Otherwise, it walks on you and spins out of there. Third aluminum panel is all burnished. It's all done, ready to go, and we're ready to glue it on the backside. And I'll show you how that's done and put it on the airplane. Here's my burnished panel. I've cut a hole in here, as you can see, for the ignition switch, and now I'm just going to use plain old. Okay, as you can see, this panel has been completely coated with contact cement. I'm going to let it dry and then move on to put in the same contact cement on the airplane. Okay, contact cement going on the airplane. You can see the hole in the airplane that corresponds to the switch hole that I showed you that I cut in the aluminum panel that's going to go here. Be really careful to not drip this stuff on any other part of the airplane. We're going to let this glue dry thoroughly. I let this stuff dry for 10-15 minutes at least, and once that happens, it'll get really sticky, and you've got one chance to put the panel on the right way. If you get it on the wrong way, I don't have any instructions that correspond to how you deal with that. Okay, I'm ready to apply the piece. The contact cement is on the aluminum panel, the contact cement is on the airplane. I've waited about 10 minutes for it to dry, and this is a critical moment. I want to get this thing started the wrong direction, so I'm going to use this top edge here to align, since that's the most visible seam, and hopefully everything else will fall into place if I've cut things correctly. Make sure everything's out of the way so nothing gets stuck behind the panel, and here we go. You want to kind of curve everything so that only the smallest possible area of contact cement grabs first. So I'll start with this upper corner here and line it up, and then twist it into place so it's aligned. Okay. Get that started. Now you'll notice that I have a nice straight seam here, and hopefully everything will follow. And you just sort of rub it in there and work it down so that no air bubbles can form behind. Now right here I can see I've got a problem. I'm going to have to trim that a little bit, but I can't take it off now, so I'm going to just proceed on ahead. A little bit of misalignment here, but I think I can work around that. After you get it applied and you think it's in the right place, I use this linoleum roller to make sure to get all the air bubbles out. And this roller is going to help me deform the metal around this little edge here where it's kind of causing some problems. Okay, the panel is on, the switch harness is installed and screwed in place, and I added a little bit of super glue, just whipped it into the slot here to make sure it doesn't ever start peeling when the airplane is sitting out in the sun. And I also added one screw down here at a high stress point. I deformed the aluminum here to get around this problem, and likewise I had a similar situation down here, but really no problem. I think it's going to work out just fine. Alright, the last panel's in place, and here's a final look at how it is.